On today's episode of Zoo Tours, we're going to see an animal that everyone should see at least once. See the largest reptile I've ever laid eyes on, and explore an attraction that adds to the zoo's historic and positively weird reputation. Now before we do anything, if you are new and like what you see so far, I recommend pressing those like and subscribe buttons to officially join our zoo crew. Then, I'm going to need all of you to comment below and simply tell us what is your personal favorite reptile house. After coming within feet of elephants, hippos, and one of the weirdest mixes of mammals you'll ever see in the Tembo Trail, you'll face the Reptile House, the first of the zoo's 5 attractions built under the Works Progress Administration during the Great Depression in 1934. And in many ways, it looks like it hasn't changed at all. It's so old that it also pays homage to prehistoric creatures like dinosaurs and prehistoric reptiles, not just including crocodiles. Up until a few years ago, the walls and the ceiling were decorated with several different stuffed pterosaurs. Just replicas, unfortunately, not the real things. All of them went extinct, except for one. The mighty Quetzalcoatlus from the late Cretaceous was just about as tall as a giraffe and had an estimated wingspan of about 35 feet, but it always wasn't out here in the wild. I'm glad the zoo kept the pterosaur, but I can't help but wish that it was still the very first thing that you saw when you walked in the building. It made it seem way more intimidating. At least, the space went to good use. Now it's an exhibit for an Argentine black and white Tegu, a medium-sized intelligent lizard from South America. They're relatively popular pets because they can stay chill when they're handled and also tolerate colder temps. In total, I counted 44 exhibits and 53 species. The center square has 4 other larger habitats with some of the building's largest scales, including the dwarf caiman of the Amazon and the Orinoco. And they have a green anaconda, often regarded as Earth's heaviest snake, and literally right across from a reticulated python, the world's most stretched out snake. Sounds very, very inviting, but I'm more drawn to the 4th corner in the desert communities. I don't know who Kimberly is, but she has a beautiful lizard. Just kidding, it's named after a region in Australia. It's also where you will find a frilled dragon, which right now is not in what I like to say its final form. Remember this thing that ate that big guy from Jurassic Park? Well, that creative design was inspired by the frilled dragon. They're not venomous and sadly don't shoot blinding poison. It actually won't really hurt you that much at all. But unless you can run 30 miles per hour, it can definitely chase you down. As you already saw, the zoo did the right thing by keeping this dungeon look outside of the exhibits and takes great pride in theming each exhibit based on the species. I couldn't imagine a reptile house that mixes reptiles with human elements. Hopefully no American zoo does that. You're given cube slices of environment from the rainforests of South America, deserts of Africa, the western United States, and from a small island in the Caribbean Sea. The east wing of the castle is more of the same looks-wise, square after square, but it does have a few more oddities. They're all unique in their own way, but some of them just fall a little flat. The Spiny soft-shell turtle, an Ohio native, may not look like it now, but it is one of the largest turtles in North America. Judging from other pics, I'd say it has about another foot to grow. You think turtles, you think hard shells. They wear one that's soft, leathery, and bendy at the edges, making them lighter and therefore faster on both land and water more than other turtles. Like their neighbor across the street, the critically endangered Roti Island snake-necked turtle from Indonesia. Their neck is so long that they can't even retract their head into their shell the traditional way, but it can do its best by bending it sideways. They may not be the fastest, but in a way they can get their food a lot quicker. This is a good time to explain why I said earlier that the reptile house looks like it hasn't changed since 1934. First of all, when you compare this 2024 shot to this photo that was close to opening day, well, that should be enough to make my case. But in 2016, a Michigan-based artist was hired to restore 5 complete murals and touch up the rest of the backdrops to look almost exactly as they did nearly a century ago. And that will take us to the back of the building. Also, the best part of the building. The very back wall is dedicated to all things small. Small snakes to the right side of the hallway, lizards on the left of it, and also an entire section for poison dart frogs. Overall, it was a little quiet. A lot of hiding and not a lot of movement. Well, I guess I just described every reptile house. We did see a green tree skink that very ironically apparently prefers bare tree trunks and not so much plants. There was also the desert whiptail grassland lizard that reproduces asexually and does not need a male for fertilization. So they are all genetic clones of their mothers and therefore an all-female species. Now, if you think that's cool, it only took me 6 visits and 6 different years to spot it, but I can finally show you the tuatara and finally share to those who don't know why this one-of-a-kind species from New Zealand is such a big deal. First, they can tolerate temps in the 40s, but anything around the 80s could actually kill them. Second, only a few zoos outside of their native range actually take care of them. 3 that I know of in the United States, and please correct me if I'm wrong. And third, when it comes to reptiles, you got your snakes, lizards, crocodilians, turtles, and tortoises. The tuatara is none of these. They are the last surviving member of an order of lizard-like reptiles whose relatives date back to the Triassic period approximately 240 million years ago, which is why they are one of many animals labeled as a living fossil. And yet, they're not even the stars of the reptile house. Which I understand, especially when you're up against Baru, named after the indigenous Australian word for saltwater crocodile, according to the zoo. It's also the name of an extinct Australian crocodile as well. Baru was removed from a river system near Darwin, Australia. He was just following his instincts. He was sort of seen as a threat to cattle, deemed as a nuisance animal, went to a crocodile farm before making the 9,500-mile journey to Toledo, Ohio. Saltwater crocs are also one of a kind. They are the heaviest reptile on the planet. He came in at 17 feet and over 1,500 pounds. And as a species, they can get even bigger than that. They say he slimmed down a bit, but Toledo officials confidently say that he is still the largest reptile in a zoo in the Western Hemisphere. Now, he's not technically the last stop. There is an outdoor pen right after the exit, but I've never had the pleasure of actually seeing the residents in the pictures. And that, my friends, was the Toledo Zoo's historic reptile house, and where I will leave us for now. That is now 3 Great Depression era exhibits on our tours, and only 2 more to go. Let us all know below how this compares to other reptile attractions that you've seen. And as always, stay wild. Stay tuned for the next episode, and thank you all for watching Zoo Tours.